Yeah, it was taking a little time to react. Welcome in everyone, and Remy. See if the audio level is working. Why is that thing not going? All the new things. Go there, maybe? The audio level is tracking. Say something, Remy? See if this works. It's just OBS settings on my end.
Hello.
Yeah, there we go. We have a Remy.
Hello, everyone.
And all audio should be working. Everything should be okay. Let us know if we are running into any problems and you can't hear us, or we lose track on things. Welcome in everyone to another stream here at Strange Loop Games. And I have been having some technical problems tweaking around with my OBS, and it's been a nightmare. But we finally got stuff working, and Remy's connecting with us from down in Egypt. And yeah, Strong Force back on the team. Have been working on talents. How are things going so far with it?
Things are going great. So we've made quite significant progress. We're in the final phases for the for talents essentially, and for the new bonus system as well that powers talents in the background. So yeah, things are looking really good. We do have a few things to show today, although as Jens already mentioned, not that much visual yet. So yeah.
Tochi just points out, I mean, we're not in eco count. I don't have the login for the Twitch account for it. I'm just streaming with a stream key to it. Did it react now? Is it working? I could have sworn I saw it on Twitch in eco. Maybe. I don't know. It's just popping up as us online here. But the person directing that would be Dennis. I would need to chase him down in order to switch category. But yeah. So, we don't mind distractions. It's not listed at the moment. Yeah, I'm gonna need to chase on. Dennis can help us out. We just do a quick ping on him on Discord and get that. If that works. Anywho, we're here for talents, right? We're we're sneaking around in the categories on Twitch stream. That sounds like a Dennis problem to me. We're just gonna ignore that. Ping him and ignore it. Looks like none. That's the category. Is it working? Who knows? Getting distracted from seeing myself in 3 places as well, which is not helping. Right, yeah. So back to talents. That's what we're here for. So we've been working on we've been reworking talents. Talents has been in the codebase as the original part of like the second iteration of the skill system back in like 8.0 or something. Like it's old stuff. And when that was introduced, there was a bunch of, or I don't know if it was 9, 8, 9, been so long ago. And we had a bunch of placeholder talents, which was basically speed buff and then a slight cost reduction buff. And that's been static ever since, and it's been a blanket thing across all the crafting talents. So a large focus has been to making sure that the modularity and the systems supporting the crafting part of those talent systems have been revamped. Thanks to Ramon here, has been doing absolute stellar work at expanding that system in order to allow a bit more flexibility, but also a lot of modularity where you can compound different effects and causes. So you can tweak around and you can add a lot of new cool restrictions to talents, but also add cross profession and specialty rewards as well for them. So we're going to be taking a look at the code for it from the user endpoint. We're still working on the client side, so that's still missing tooltips, etc. Which is what Remy is working on this week in particular, trying to get stuff ready for a playtest. And I have been working on using the code and implementing and throwing in different combinations of getting talents in order. So I've been passing out a little bingo sheet of how the talent system looked now that we ripped away the frugal and the the old talents that was blanketed across everything, and kind of been filling these in. Just gonna split over to the screen share. Let's see it working. That thing is working. We are in on my other monitor, and we're gonna be taking a look at how much crazy stuff we have in and what the volume of talents that is gonna be looking like. I've just been using your sample sheet here before kind of finalizing into the tech tree. And we're looking at everything from, mechanics, all the talents for across the board, all the skill stuff. And yes, don't worry, we are going to be looking at the logging one as well. They are sort of working. They're in there. So the logging talents are finally a thing. It's going to have a little shift as well because we're removing one of the level 3 ones, replacing it with a charcoal one. So it's all good stuff. Yeah, it might be, there might be some issues with the 4K. I don't know. OBS has been causing me absolute headaches the last week. I don't know if I just like something in the old profiles over the new version that's just breaking things. But yeah, so how does this system works? How does it differentiate from the old one? And kind of breaking this down a little bit. So looking at some of the samples that Remy made for what we can use with it. So in this case, for example, we have a sample talent of 10% resource cost reduction when crafting with logging, which is pretty straightforward. It's a basic crafting thing. You get the talent, you reduce the amount of crafting costs, which is the input materials. Any particular code rundown you want to bring to light in this from modding perspective, or I feel like I can just kind of hammer on, and I'm good at ranting on.
So from my side, maybe I could speak a little bit about the system and the changes and the differences in comparison to the past existing system. Essentially, as you said, Jens, it is very focused on modularity. That has been when it came to building this and when it came to putting things together. Actually took quite a bit of time on the planning side to just make sure to get this done right and to offer as much potential as possible for any feature mods or essential also internal use, of course, on our end for the actual talents within Eco. So the idea is that it's like you said, it's combining so many different effects with so many different causes. So there can be certain triggers. Causes are, we can think of them as triggers that result in some talent activating or triggering at a specific point in time. And these causes can be paired with effects, which essentially can compound together and can work together in order to achieve something. We have various different actions, for example, as you show here on screen, which kind of in some of the existing actions that can be used to trigger certain talents and certain things. And of course, these also control certain aspects such as the craft time, the craft cost, the unlocking of certain recipes, and other aspects such as tool use and so on. So we'll get through all that, I believe, this stream, but just a very quick rundown and a quick just background of what we've been dealing with. In comparison to the old system, the old system was very strict in its use. It did have talents, but it did not offer the level of modularity that we can offer today. It did not allow for this kind of this level of control, whether on the development side, so on our side, or even on the modding side as well. Was not really comparable to what we have right now, which is a fantastic start. So yeah, I don't know if you want to go through something specific, Jens. I'll let you take the lead. But this is just a quick background and a quick understanding to how we compare both systems, the past existing one and what we have right now.
Yeah, so I have been compiling and adding some of these talents together. Let me just put oil drilling as a good example on where we have the old talent system left us very much in a black hole of can't really do anything with it. It's not really scalable, and it worked in a way where you created a talent and then you specified which specialty belongs to that category of a talent. Here we're kind of doing the reverse. We're making, we're taking a specialty and then assigning a specific talent with a set of criteria to that specialty, which makes it a little bit more. And because it's so modular, it makes we can do a lot more with it. Will all of these triggers and options be exposed to modules? Yeah. So this is essentially what you will see inside the benefit script on the server. So this is plain C# code that's going to be exposed on that in the benefit folder. So similar to we're looking at if we're looking at Frugal Workspace as an example, it's in here where it's being triggered on learn, etc. So this is basically the logic of execution, whereas the data of that is being templated right now, which is this one. So all of the current, and this is a good example on how the structurally worked before, where you had a talent, which is our Frugal Workspace, and then it was applied to multiple different specialties across the board, which is why it's a giant list of things in here, because they're all being assigned this, and you have the value here. And it's going to be working the same way in terms of how you access it from that perspective. You're going to have this available straight out in the folders. So you can just adjust, tweak, build, compound however you want in order to just make really, really cool new talents. We're also adapting the system on client side in order to allow multiple talents. Currently, it's hard-coded to only allow 2 talents per entry and like tier, if you will. So the level 3 talents and the level 6 talents, they're hard set to only allow 2 talents inputs. So if you wanted to have a replacement for it, you'd need to remove one of the old ones. The goal is, and this is still very much work in progress, and something we're developing actively. The goal is to have it so you can just add more talents if you wanted to. So it would auto-generate and change out that window in order to allow modders to add, 4, 5, 6, 7 talents on a level unlock if they wanted to making it more modular, making it more moddable, and just allowing people to, admins and users to create their own custom experiences in terms of how the skills interact with each other as well. And as we're building this out right now, as I showed here, we have this list of bonus actions, which is triggers. This will probably expand as well as we go along. It's probably going to be popping up something like, hey, we really missed this effect, and just kind of add that into this enum list. And then you can just access it straight out from the modding side as well.
The system is very easy to extend, so the idea of adding something should be pretty straightforward. Moving on, essentially the central system for this, the bonus system, handles everything when it comes to game values and so on. And All the actual implementation has to worry about is the context and the actual effect that's taking place, and the trigger, of course. So it's very straightforward, and it should make things very easy on our side as well, and of course very accessible to modders.
Yeah, so for anyone that has dev tier access and is familiar with the code internally, it works similar to how atomic actions work for interactions, but for bonus values applied to kind of an extension of that system.
Yep.
So yeah, breaking down, some people don't really care about code here. They're just going, ooh, talents. What are we getting new stuff? How are they gonna work? Are talents still locked to level 3 and 6 only, or could a mod change it? Have a talent on each level? That is also something that is bound to that hard-coded stuff that we talked about. So it should be doable to change that out in order to have it. So you just assign the specific level to that talent, and it would populate in that window. I'm hoping that's going to be the case in the future. Can you add penalties too to each level, so there's a trade-off when choosing your path of talents? Yes. So the new system properly supports both positives and negatives. And this is something that I, from a design point, was very adamant and in forcing the team to adapt to in order to have that kind of bonus malus, where I have an example for it in somewhere in here, I think. Yeah. So for oil drilling, as one of the examples here, we have a preliminary. So all of these things are fairly preliminary. We're going to run it through the playtest. The numbers might be tweaked around. Everything that you see here is not going to be set in stone because it's a dynamic, active workspace. So for the first level 3 talent, which is improved extraction, reduces the labor cost of getting petroleum through a pump jack. And the way we're applying that is calling the bonus action with the labor cost, which is also a new thing. As previously, it was just the direct resource cost, and which was tied to room tier. And I have a cat that's being very actively walking around here. But now we have expanded abilities here. We've got power, labor, etc., etc. So this thing is grabbing the labor cost. It's looking at the specific recipe in here, which is petroleum. And it is putting that inside this hash set. You can add multiple recipes. You can leave it blank for all the recipes. You can have a talent for, say, self-improvement, and that would just improve all the recipes for, just like a massive global labor reduction cost. And then we're applying the specific effect for it, so we're calling it bonus effect, using a multiplicative here with a 0.5. Now, the bonus effects have a bunch of different parameters to them as well. We have, you can correct me if I'm missing anything, but we got additive, we got chance, we got multiplicative, and we have a set override value.
Yep.
And this is just giving us a wild range repertoire of how we can compound these. So for the opposite talent, you have reducing crafting cost of synthetic rubber and plastic. This might extend to the other products as well, just to kind of have a whole encompassing thing. And it's basically using the same thing. It's using, instead of the labor cost, it's applying with the craft resource cost, and it's specifying the specific set of recipes. And we can see here we have multiple of them in here. Still applying the same multiplicative, lower is better, applying it. And then the level 6 ones, we've got a reduced cost, but we have an increase in pollution. So here we have two sets of bonuses. We have one set of bonus, which is doing the crafting reduction cost. And then we have the second bonus, which is doing the pollution increase. And then the talent itself is compounding these into the same. So you get both of these bonuses, and you can add as many as you want in a crazy amount of combinations as you want.
You're also able to filter, so the bonus context, the recipes, it's not just the recipes, you can filter by recipes, by tools, by items, by types and certain world objects. There's a lot of options when it comes to how and when this talent will apply. So the context offers a lot of control over that, and makes it applicable, makes it very very controllable to make this applicable to specific things. Yeah, and it was really just is offering a lot of control, which was the point in all of this. So.
Yeah, this is actually a good that is actually a good point here. So in this case, I'm applying the bonus reduction to the gasoline recipe and the biodiesel recipe explicitly. But if you would to add another craft table to make these two recipes in, the pollution negative effect would only apply to the oil refinery specifically.
Yep.
So if you had like an improved oil refinery, you had the same two recipes added to them, it would only add that penalty to that specific object. So it adds a lot of it's just a really strong way of allowing you to really customize what those talents will be, the scope of them, and have the dynamic environment enough in it to actually do the things you want to do. Would we be able to set the costs of taking talents, for instance, if a mod made it so we have 2 or 3 talents in a tier, and then you can spend 1 star for each talent you take? Being able to take multiple talents in the same tier, so the same level bracket, is something that we're looking at allowing through a server boolean. So by default, it's a 1 specific talent choice. Previously it would be, A or B, but if we have multi-choice talents, you might want to be interested in taking more, so that's also something that UI needs to be representing. But the goal is to allow that server setting. The system is also extended out to allow multi-levels of a talent. It's not generally going to be used by default. But that is also integrated by base, right? You have talent A and then level 1, 2, 3, 4 if you wanted to.
Yep.
Then we wanted to grab an example from Gathering. Was it this one? No. That was just the boiler copy paste.
Yes, a little bit up.
Where did I put that? I put it somewhere. I have a gathering somewhere that...
Yeah, down at 720.
I have a gathering where I put things in. I promise.
Well, I'm sure it's somewhere. It's somewhere over here.
It is somewhere.
You'll find it.
It's somewhere in here. Somewhere. Do I need to open up all of them? Probably. The blue ones should be empty. I don't know. It's in here somewhere. But a couple of other ones being like compounding things here for selecting specific recipes. I was looking for one of those I made. Yeah, which is also another thing. Locking recipes behind talents. That's also brand spanking new, and it's still in progress of being implemented. But the general idea is to be able to have recipes locked behind professions, and you cannot craft them unless you have that talent. And we're still kind of figuring out how we want to deal with it architecturally on the server side. Or how the recipe is shown to the user of that it is locked behind the talent, so you're not just going, but I have all of these carpenter skills. I've got the carpenter skill. Why can't I do all the carpenter recipes? So having that gate in place as well, which allows you to add more custom recipes as well, or more beneficial recipes, or on different work tables, etc. Also having cross ability to do that. So that was also one of the big important bits I wanted to make sure that we supported. And some of the early ones is gonna be, I'm looking at locking asphalt behind a basic engineering talent. And the cross selection for that is gonna be a pretty chunky reduction in costs for parts for vehicles. Could also require multiple skill levels for some recipes. Yeah, that is also true. So if you do want to lock something behind a skill set, because it's not just a skill, you can put it behind requiring even professions, not just the specialties themselves, but you can also require the profession. It's kind of broad supporting in that regard. I can make all the car parts, but not the car. Then someone else can make that. Yeah, so you can customize and tweak and do whatever you want really with them. The hell did I do with it? I don't even know where I put it. I honestly don't know. I was sitting with the GMs on the Discord when I was composing it, and I have no idea where I did it. So this is another good example on some of the talents that you're going to be seeing. So this is somewhat in. Can we select the skill multiple times to collect all the recipes? Yeah. So that was what we were talking about. We are intending to allow servers to set if you allow multi selections for that level. By default, you are not going to be able to do that. Or like base stuff. That'll make it harder for smaller play bases. The intention is to allow the server setting to configure that. So if you're running on like a lower collaboration setting or no collaboration, for example, you'd be allowed to pick multiple things in order to to acquire the unlocks, or having like a replacement benefit or something. The campfire cooking, as an example of how this is going to be looking in a practical example, is resource reduction for salads as one talent, and resource reduction for stews as the other one opposite. So some may not have a negative penalty for picking one or the other, but it would give you an advantage as specializing in this versus the other. Back and forth. It really annoys me that the gathering one is missing. It's really bugging me. It is totally not pulling my attention. That is annoying. There it is. Found it. Haha. Found it. It is here. Right, so increased yields of and this is something that I wanted to talk to you about, Remy, in regards to harvesting and fractionals and benefits overall. We've had problems with the old gathering talents, the natural gatherer versus farmhand. Is a thing of the past. They were opposite in regards to you picked one, you gained a bonus to harvesting crops in the wild, or you picked the other, which gave you a harvest crop benefit from farmed plants. I never really liked it because the wild plants was not really an option unless you played very, kind of single player-esque, because things generally wouldn't regrow in the time span, so by a week in, there'd be no wild crops. Everything's gonna be, fairly picked clean off the planet, and that's kind of a wasted talent by the time you hit level 6, etc. So I wanted to make sure that that was really impactful. So I kind of compounded them, but I'm using an additive bonus effect here.
Yep.
So when you're harvesting the crops it just gives you a flat out +1. For that. And the reason why the percentages are being a little bit of a problem is because some crops only, like the crop yields are ranging between 1 or 2 from pineapple, for example, up to 14 for the berries.
Yes.
So having that roundup meant that you'd still always get like +1 anyway. And from a player perspective, the way I see it is, it feels like it makes it looks more complicated than what it needs to be if it's a percentile bonus for yields. Rather than just go like, hey, I picked this talent, I get +1. Which is pretty simple, straightforward. At the same point, then if we want to have like a negative, as Cubion was commenting on, for gathering, it'd be cool if you could get a bonus in a chosen area, but a negative in other areas. I've opted for having just the positives rather than the negatives for the same reason. Some crops are really hard to kind of balance the negative reduction in because of that low yield. But initially when I threw them in, I added them with the percentile. Do we get the Orbs of Regret to reskill that choice at the later cost? At the cost? Reskilling is probably gonna be something that we reintroduce. We are gonna be looking over XP yields and costs for the different professions and the quantity of items being produced and so on as well. So that's a lot of balance stuff that's gonna be going into the playtest. But yeah, so on the harvesting thing here, we've got increased yields of mushrooms versus increased yields of the set grains. So here we're using harvest yield, and it is the specific items here. So it is wheat, corn, rice versus the amanita, bolete, cookie, and criminy mushrooms. I was gonna say there's a ton of multipliers at play with all of these changes. Can't imagine starting to figure out the balancing. Oh, it's an interesting workload where I do a bunch of design, and then I pass it over to the people that are really good at implementing it, like Remy here. And then he spits out the finished stuff for me, and then he goes, "Here, go ahead, plug in values. Good luck."
I have to say you've done quite a bit of work with that, so
it's an interesting back and forth work environment. But it's a lot of fun. It keeps us busy, and I hope everyone is appreciating the effort that goes into it as well. Yeah, one of the other big things for benefits as well, which was a little bit of a headache for you, is the freshness levels. Because the freshness levels were never really designed intentionally to go above 100. And then what all the players really want is just clipboards. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, cut you off there. Freshness?
No, it's been one of the challenging ones, especially as well when it comes to how we want to handle things like stacking and if you have different items with different freshness maximums now, not just different freshness. So yeah, it's a little bit challenging, but I think one of the things that are very worth having, and like many others, it just adds a lot of what you can do with the system.
Yeah. And so this is, on that example, so the level 6 talent for gathering will be increasing yield by +1 or increasing that freshness on harvested crops. Which I know it's rough as harvesting goes, especially if you are on a very, very active, kind of dipping into inactive and then popping out like very varying activity levels on it. So adding a bit of benefits in order to get the freshness levels adjusted and so on is quite nice. I want to poke you with the crafting freshness as well for some of the chef professions. So we might poke our noses in there. Also talked to you recently about the tool integrity as well. So we're going to do some talents with, like, you know, kind of improved output, but at a slightly higher cost to improve integrity and durability for tools when you make them. Also going to be looking at the XP gain for repairs is something that's currently missing. I started poking my nose into it, and it was a little bit of a rabbit hole of things I want to change. We'll probably be running through that for a bit as well. How will the gathering talents like this would be balanced out for using a tractor, for instance? They'll still apply. They apply just like they do today. You have a talent, if you have, you know, a skill set talent bonus for harvesting, it's applying the gathering, because the tractor is just acting as a tool. As long as the tractor doesn't have any specific code on it saying increase or decrease yields, it still works just as if you're using a scythe, essentially.
Yep.
Another part of the bonus system, for my testing, gathering does not impact the tractor. It most definitely should.
Yeah, it's something that's still in progress. So yeah. But eventually, the output that we're looking for is, it will impact anything that is able to harvest the same way, regardless of the tool or vehicle that you're using.
Yeah. Another area of it, and Skytech, I'm not sure, on mining and skid steer, generally not being impacted at all, because the skid steer kind of instant breaks rocks and it's collecting it immediately into the bucket, so you don't really have the split requirement for the talent. So that shouldn't be a differential. Something that has been in the works, we poked a little bit about it on way back, like 9.4, 9.5 or something. John initially started working on it, I think 9.3 maybe even, when we started looking at talents initially, is an ability to apply an AoE bonus for stuff. And I don't know if you want to say too much about it, but it as far as I know, it's set up to work just as the regular talent stuff does. So it can impact everything and anything with the same criteria and requirements.
So what I can say right now is that essentially what you said, Jens, it does work in a certain area of effect that is computed, and it would work the exact same way. So applying the same positive or negative effects within that range. For example, you could have, say, a bookshelf in a spot that, just an example. This is not exactly what's happening, of course, but you could have something within a certain spot, and anything within a certain radius is being impacted in terms of, for example, a crafting speed reduction, a bonus could apply, or a resource cost reduction, or it could be the other way around as well. Still in the works. This is not something that's 100% complete yet, but it does have a substantial part of it that is currently implemented.
Yeah, and it is intended to piggyback on the same modular beneficial system. So
yep,
whoever's in range causing that trigger will have that effect with whatever resulting is. Just joined, getting a error 1000 black screen. I don't know. Like, it's weird. Twitch has been being weird. The VOD should be available later after the stream as well, so might have more luck there. Try a different browser, or via phone or a computer. See if that helps. I'm not sure. Like it sometimes it's a Twitch error, sometimes it's a stream error, sometimes it's an OS or a browser error. It seems to be collapsed under the same error prompt, so I do apologize if anyone is having problems actually getting the video feed of the stream. But it's to your consolation, it's mainly just code being shown, so there's not a whole whooping clickety buttons being displayed. 1+ sounds really strong on pineapple and urchins. Yeah, it's sort of how it's worked in the past as well. It's kind of it's word I'm looking for, English language. Rounds upwards for the bonus. Bonus 10 new vehicles. Thank you for showing. Yeah, no, let's we have 1.5 new vehicle coming in this update as well, and we'll be going over those. We'll see probably by next stream. So
really cool stuff, I have to say.
Yeah, the new logging vehicles are absolutely crazy. No audio, nothing. That is definitely a weird Twitch problem. Yeah. Daniel is having the same problem as well. I don't know. Can I lower the bit rates on the fly if that's being... Yeah, no, it's... Hang on. Let's see if I can... do this. See if that cuts down the bit rate and see if that helps people. Because apparently it did reset my freaking bit selections again. See if that worked. Maybe? Finally a tractor, not a steam tractor. No, it's gonna be an attachment for the steam tractor, and it is gonna be you also have a dedicated late tier vehicles for cutting down trees as well. Will all of these values seemingly hard-coded? Any chance of that becoming a config file for easy adjustments? It's difficult because of how much and how different modular this is gonna be. Because the effects can be related to very different sources. So having it as like a central point config can be difficult. Outside of what you already have in terms of, you can already adjust kind of the global craft cost modifier. That's already a thing. But it'd be difficult to add a server setting for every single recipe, for example. It'd be it kind of be unmanageable in that regard. So it's gonna be kind of, if you want to do overrides, you're gonna need to do overrides. Probably also introduce these as partials in order to allow compounding, like further compounding into it. Just easy additions, like if you have a talent, you want to add another thing into it. Having them set up as partial classes would allow that as well. So you don't need to do an override for a file. You can just do a partial extension of that and then put that in there. Yeah, I hope that's kind of getting some people warmed up a little bit to how crazy this is going to be. Like there's a lot of gameplay elements to it. One, it will have a massive impact across the board for everything that the old talents previously touched. Like you had a global 5% cost reduction on everything. You had a global speed increase on the tables. So we're going to be reviewing crafting times as well for things. So it's going to be this update is going to be huge in terms of just pure gameplay value and changes due to how these are going to impact the everyday use of the individual player. Right, you're going to have split between melting having a benefit of either gold and copper or iron. So you're going to see a big market fluctuation there as well, or you can see some monopoly of the smelters banding together and they're all charging the same thing and just pocketing the change. So we're really looking forward to seeing what it's going to do to the general market. Is there any change coming to farming? It's kind of stuck in automatic seed dispenser. Not for this particular update. it's gonna get some specific seed talents, but the big work towards the farming and the environment is probably gonna be the 1.0 update with the animal husbandry changes, because we do have some big plans for how to deal with crops and crop statuses and so on. So that's going to be coming down. Will it be possible to have one item be made by 2 different jobs as different costs via mods? It's... I don't think so. Not in the current iteration, right? Because you still have... If you
Not really, no.
No, because you'd still have... say you want to do copper wire for another profession than mechanic. When you're looking at a crafting table, it would still be mechanic labor required. Even if you have that recipe as unlocked right now. We might look into seeing if we want to do something for that. But you can do the opposite way around of having multiple skill requirements for a recipe. But yeah, you can do this by adding an alternative recipe, as Pondo points out, and then just locking that recipe behind that. But it's kind of like adding an alternative recipe for it, or a duplicate recipe for it, just outputting on a different table with different labor, and then have that locked behind that profession. Maybe off topic, but are there any plans to increase the workload for low work skills for butchery? Even on a 100-player server, a second butcher feels useless. For some of the recipes, yes, but I feel like I'm parroting that a little bit, because it is very, very involved in animal husbandry. If you do pop in and take a look at the previous streams, peek a nose into the animal husbandry stream that we had way back. I went over a bit of what's going to happen to butchery. It's going to be involving like processing the carcasses and getting them split up. Different animals are going to have different meat types, and they're going to need to be processed differently, and other kind of intermediary resources. Same thing for hunting as well, where hunting is going to be extended out to have different arrow types and all of these other bits and pieces. So for the current coming update, we're targeting the logging talents, of course. They will have some love and appearance, and getting the general talent system kind of 1.0 ready, framework wise, and then kind of expand on that as we travel towards that end. And just making sure that all of the skills have nice, neat talents that makes that profession unique from another one. As for the logging talent, if we go up here, we do have Logger's Luck, and we do have Oh yeah, I didn't update the branch. Did you update it for the Dotween breakage? Or is cutting down trees still breaking it?
I did not.
Right.
No, that still might happen, yeah.
Yeah, we'll show that off in later here. Right now, if you cut down a tree on the branch here, it's gonna cause explosions. Any plans to add expirations to carcasses? Yes, Pondo. All of that is gonna be falling under decay and deterioration as well. But yeah, if anyone has any general further questions, doors open. Any other? Had some pollution power samples where you can now impact the pollution as well. You can impact. Here's an example where I added in. I expanded a little bit on your sample power efficiency. So if you're trying to craft and you're using a mechanic skill, so anytime you use a mechanic skill, and you have the industry skill at level 5, it's then giving you a 10% power bonus benefits. Anytime you're trying to use a work table, it requires, 90% of the power. Any plans on making carcasses a stockpile item instead of a chest with their model visible in the stockpile? The stockpile visible items is kind of limited to blocks. And having them as a block introduces a whole other slew of chronically difficult interactions. Like, for example, you wouldn't be able to hold it in your inventory. It'd be a carry item, and so on. But for the logging, add that under here. Pop that up. Where did I put the logging talent? One of those things. Logging, there. Charcoal. Here, and this is another one. So, charcoal talent using... if you're trying to craft and you're using dense charcoal, peat charcoal, or charcoal recipe, it just gives you a +1 right now. So it's using that, the additive effect, and just goes bam. As for the cats, they are right now cuddling on the blanket below the screen here on the right, and they've just fallen asleep. So I'm just gonna let them be there because they have been running amok here for the past hour. Yeah, so the opposite talent for this would be the tool strength. So easier to cut down trees, or you get more charcoal when you're processing it. Which puts you in a little bit of a buy logs and craft getting more output of it. The cats are sleeping during live stream. Better get them to the vet and checked out. Yeah, I mean, that's usually what it goes, isn't it? Like, anytime I hit stream, they just go crazy and they causing a ruckus all over the... but for now, they're actually asleep, so that fits quite well. Tool 100% of the time I see. Anarchy, welcome in, welcome in. Can we have cats toys artwork? I don't know. These two cats are very much trash cats. Like, you can, it's the typical, you buy them fancy interactive toys and whatever else, and they're like, nah, I don't want that. This piece of paper, though, you dropped for half a second. I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna run around the apartment with it. Or like this morning when I found a piece of string, a piece of yarn, 3 laps around the apartment. With a crochet object at the end of that yarn tucked into the couch, and then the yarn ball out inside the kitchen. Because they'd done like 3 laps around it. It's just, for some reason, Spark has started to really be into yarns. She never used to. And in the last couple of months, it has been absolutely obsessed. Yeah, so talents are being filled out, and the goal is to have them all filled out and decked ready for the playtest as soon as possible. And Remy, as I said, is working on the client-side changes. We can get all the nice clickety buttons and the UI interactions, and having a way to kind of see where these talents are being, where they're happening in the tooltips and what they're affecting, so it doesn't cause too much confusion. And if you have suggestions,
that will really matter. Yeah.
That's going to be the important front end bits. But yeah, if you do have talents and suggestions that you want to go like, hey, this be really, really nice and cool, pop them into the suggestion page. Which is, where did we put that now? move Windows here. Feedback.play.eco should be working. Post the link in chat as well, as long as Twitch allows me to actually post links here. Should be fine. The only question left is when. When? Keep an update on the Discord. Playtest is planned soonish. And I'll leave the announcement to Dennis when everything is set up and fixing and whatnot. No link, is that not work? Yeah, it did work. Right? Or did it not show link? Did it nuke the link? I don't know if it if you hop in on Discord, links in the top channel, and in Dev Hangout as well. Oh yeah, you see it as a link but not present. Is it just not clickable, or is it just decided to mute that? Yeah. Just do that, and then we'll just put it right there. Can't click it, but it is there. It is there. But yeah. I think that's it for the same as the in-game feedback button. I think so. Actually, a very good question. Yeah, it is. It is. That give feedback thing leads directly to that page. It was fixed. It was sorted out. So that should be all good. Yeah, no, it's. I want to thank everyone for popping in, watching, and staying with us dedicatedly, and all of the other crazy things. And I want to thank Remy for popping in here on stream for the first time as well, making a grand public appearance with the talents on the shopping block.
Finally.
Right?
Finally, yeah.
And I hope everyone has a good, fresh week coming up here as well, since we're at the end of the weekend. Oh yeah, Pondo, there has been no weekend here. It's been full steam ahead.
That is true.
But yeah, I wish you all a good end of the weekend and a great start on a new one. So until next time, we'll see when I pop in on stream as well. Somewhat here shortly in the future, just kind of giving a little bit of wrap-ups on the general features for the update that's coming, kind of like a summary. No recycling talk. Sad. No. We're gonna get there, but we want to get this talent update first, and then we're gonna be talking about recycling. It's gonna be so much garbage talk. You're gonna be running out with your bins in your kitchens in the end of it. But yeah, until then, I wish you all a great week, and have a good one. Bye for now.
Have a good one. Thank you.